sustainability series, and of course we're with the St. Andrew Baywatch. And we started this a sustainability series last fall, and this is kind of tying things up to what we started talking about. Or we might say we're going to start a new chapter and move forward with some more talks like this. Am I too loud? Because I can move this down. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we're going to talk about energy a little bit, native plants. These are some things that we touched on, so I just want to remind you some of the things that we talked about in our other citizen science talks. Growing your own food, using buffers. This is for shoreline restoration to reduce erosion, improve habitat, maintain cleaner water. We'll talk about in and around the kitchen, how you can reduce your impact and save money and resources, and then reducing or eliminating single-use plastic. And has anyone seen the movie Bag It? So Bag It. It's really interesting, and I do have a copy if anyone wants to borrow it, but it's really about plastic and how the plastic is really prevalent in our environment, especially the marine environment. And we are St. Andrew Baywatch, and it's a little bit scary how much marine debris is plastic. Probably at least 60%, if not more, is plastic, and it's being found in the food chain. So the plastic is showing up in fish, shellfish, and that is something I think we need to be really worried about. Is it going to be in the food that we're eating? So we're going to end our talk talking about reducing or eliminating our use of single-use plastic. Again, I want to stress, I'm not against, all plastic, because obviously there's lots of very important products that we need that are plastic, but do we really need that plastic bag to go to the grocery store when we could just take a reusable shopping bag? So those are just some things to think about. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about today. So we have John and Kim put up photovoltaic panels at their house, and so we were talking about, so John started our sustainability series about climate change. And one of the issues with climate change is the buildup of CO2 in the atmosphere. And so one of the main reasons why CO2 is building up in the atmosphere is because we're burning fossil fuels. And one way to reduce CO2 in the atmosphere is to switch to more renewable energy resources such as solar. Could be wind, could be hydroelectric. I mean, there's lots of other renewable energy sources, but solar is one that individuals can do on their homes. Of course, this is a more costly alternative to reduce your impact on Earth. And we're going to get to less costly ones. Okay, so we're kind of starting with some of the more costly ones at the beginning. I did a talk after John talked about climate change on putting solar panels on your roof, and we have a couple companies that are relatively close by. I think Compass Solar is who John worked with. You can contact Go Solar if you're interested in solar. You can also, I'm sure, talk to John. He'd be more than happy to speak with you after this program if this is something you're interested in. Now, John does not have the Tesla Powerwall. That's something that I'm dreaming of having photovoltaics and a Tesla Powerwall, so that I can then someday plug an electric car into that whole system. We're not there yet. We don't have photovoltaics. We don't have, obviously, a Tesla Powerwall, and we don't have an electric car. So we've got three very important missing pieces. We've also been told that we're a really terrible place to have photovoltaics at our house. So we kind of we're behind the curveball on that. But this is another way, though, to reduce our impact. If you have a choice and you can get an electric vehicle, they are coming down in price. So you can find electric vehicles for $35,000. I don't actually know what this electric vehicle is. I took that picture when I was in DC. But this is a Chevy Bolt. I do not, have any stock in Chevy. I'm not, trying to tell you to buy Chevy products, but that was just one that I've seen locally and I've driven it. So we have Chevy Bolts here in Pane City that you can go out and test drive if you're interested. But of course, maybe you're more interested in a hybrid vehicle, which of course is still going to increase your miles per gallon, so that will decrease your CO2 emissions. You will see hybrid vehicles schools in places like Washington, D.C., so I took this picture again of the Metro bus running off of hybrid electric technology. So there's many choices you can make. If you can't afford an all-electric vehicle or a hybrid, you could also just buy, the next time you buy a vehicle, buy one with the higher miles per gallon. So more efficient, because that means you can be burning fewer fossil fuels. So it doesn't mean you have to go and buy electric or even hybrid. So that's just looking at energy, you know, as far as photovoltaics and, you know, driving. But obviously we burn a lot of fossil fuels, producing our electricity and also moving from point A to B in all of our vehicles. But there's lots of other ways you can save energy around your home. You can put in these reflective panels. It looks like big rolls of aluminum foil with bubble wrap, like bubble wrap aluminum foil. That's kind of how I think about it. You can put that in your attic, and that's a reflective barrier that will reduce the heat that builds up in your attic. Of course, you can put down attic insulation. This is a relatively cheap thing to do, is to go add more insulation in your attic, and you will have less heat loss in the winter and less cooling costs in the summer. Double pane windows, of course, those are a little bit more expensive, but a lot of our homes were built, you know, before double pane windows were the standard. So at our house, which was built in 1966, we had a lot of single pane windows. We replaced them all with double pane, and it definitely helps reduce our bills, but also it just makes your house a lot quieter. We didn't realize how noisy it was out on our street until we put double pane windows in, and then we didn't hear all that noise. So that was kind of an added benefit. And then of course you can get a programmable thermostat, and that's a really easy thing to do. Gulf Power will come out and give you a programmable thermostat because they would like you to not use as much air conditioning in the middle of the day when it's peak time, and they have issues with, you know, trying to have enough electricity for everybody. So, you know, I set this so that during the day, the AC will not come on unless it's 80 degrees or higher. And then it comes back on, so the AC starts coming on like at 4:30 in the afternoon, so that by the time I get home from work, the house is not super hot. And but that whole day, it wasn't trying to keep an empty house cool at 74, 76 degrees or whatever temperature you keep it at. And of course you can do that for winter as well. You know, you can keep it so it's cooler during the day when you're not there, and then you can have the heat come on before you come back home. So a programmable thermostat is really an easy way to save a bunch of money if you're interested in that. Other ways to save money. This is really cheap. This is just getting what we call a blanket to go around your hot water heater. But you can put a blanket around your hot water heater, and it will help insulate it so it doesn't lose so much heat. And then you don't have to heat your water all the time. This actually, your hot water heater is one of your biggest uses of electricity. If you have electric hot water heater, if you have gas, then it's a big use of gas. But it's a big use of electricity to keep your hot water hot even when you don't need it. Some people put in the flow-through system where, you know, when you're taking a shower, then the water goes through, it gets heated, and then it goes to your bathrooms. And those are great systems, but you do have to work with those systems, meaning you don't want two people in the shower at the same time, may not have enough hot water. You don't also want to be running your dishwasher while you're in the shower at the same time, may not have enough hot water. So you do have to be a little cognizant. If you're using the flow-through system, I don't think that's what it's called. The instant hot water, maybe that's what it's called. But you know, you just need to be a little more cognizant of your water usage, because if you're using a lot of hot water to wash a load of clothes, then you probably don't have enough hot water left over for you to take a shower. But if you don't want to get the instant hot water, you can do an electric water heater timer. And it's just like your programmable thermostat. You can say, oh, we want most of our hot water, you know, starting like at 6 a.m. People are getting up and they're taking showers. And then we don't need to have so much hot water during the day, and then in the evening, it's going to come back that money.
I just wanted to mention that the Gulf Power programmable, it has a separate one for hot water heater.
Okay, so she was saying that the Gulf Power Programmer has a hot water
And you can
programmable one as well.
have it off during the day, but still have the air on or.
Yeah, so that's great. So I didn't know that about Gulf
Yeah.
Power. And so I might have to look into that to do that with ours as well. And of course, whenever we're picking appliances, we try to get appliances that are really rated for high energy efficiency. Again, that just means less money out of your pocket when you pay your monthly utility bills. And so that's why I have the Energy Guide picture up there. Of course, replacing light bulbs, right? We went from our incandescents to compact fluorescents to LEDs. Both the compact fluorescents and the LEDs are going to save you a lot of energy. They do cost more initially, but they last a lot longer, and they reduce your costs overall for energy. And then I have a picture of a power strip up there. There's a lot of ghost electricity that is emitted even when you have your cell phone chargers, for instance, plugged into this power strip. If the power strip is still plugged, is still on, there's a little bit of electricity that's leaking out of these units. So having a power strip that you can turn on and off easily, you can control several chargers or whatever, and then you're not losing this ghost electricity. And that saves money over time, especially with lots of devices, lots of kids, lots of devices. That will really help. And feel free to, as Charlotte did, add things, because this will make the presentation that much better. So thank you for adding that. So landscaping ideas. You can switch to battery-operated, rechargeable battery-operated tools if you're interested in that. You're not burning the gasoline when you're mowing your lawn or blowing your leaves around or whatever. So I have some pictures of just showing you just the whole network of tools that run off the same type of batteries. Of course, hand tools work, right? Hand tools are great. They don't require fossil fuels, just our own human labor. And if you're interested in learning more about this idea of getting rid of your lawn grass, here's this book, Requiem for a Lawnmower. It's a woman's journey about saying, do we need all this turf grass? Maybe we should put more native plants in our garden. And that's kind of what we're going to hit to next. So this is the front yard of our house back in 2000. And then this is what it was, 13 years later, where we've added 3 different islands of vegetation. And basically we got rid of probably, 70% of our grass. But we got rid of a lot of our grass. We don't have good looking grass to begin with. So for us, that wasn't such a big deal to get rid of, although here you're like, wow, the grass looks a lot better here. But that probably was after some heavy rains, because we don't really irrigate. And we have native plants, or things that are maybe not exactly native, but they don't need tons of water. So that once they're established, we don't really worry about them unless there's a severe drought. And I'm a pretty lazy gardener, so we can rake leaves into our islands of vegetation. They do need some maintenance here and there, but if you use a lot of mulch and stuff, it should keep weeds down. Again, you won't need to water as much, but there's just a lot more habitat. We see turtles in our yard now, snakes, and not poisonous snakes, good snakes that eat things like rats and stuff like that, which is, you want those things around your house. You see, we see lots of birds. We also have bird feeders, but we have lots of places now for the birds to perch, and then come into the feeder. And we didn't have that before when we just had like this expanse of a lawn. So you can kill your lawn, and it's okay. And you can have good native habitat. But how we killed our lawns, we didn't really use a lot of chemicals, and we didn't actually till. You just put cardboard down or lots of newspaper, Then where you want to plant something, cut the newspaper or the cardboard away and plant what it is you want to plant, and then just cover it with a lot of mulch, and the grass eventually dies because you've covered it up with cardboard or newspaper. And that was a way to do it without tilling and without chemicals. Okay, and then we had people talking about native plants. So Jody Wood Putnam talked about native plants, so I wanted to tie that in. And then we had Julie McConnell from IFAS talk about growing herbs in your backyard. She did a little bit with vegetable gardening, but you can have raised beds if you want, and they don't take up a lot of space. And there's a great book called Square Foot Gardening that has a great reference of how to take a bed like this. This is 4 feet by 8 feet. Break it up into sections, and you do 1 foot square sections, and then you can plant different things in those sections, and you can actually get a lot of output from a relatively small space. So you can do raised beds. You can, of course, just put herbs wherever. They can go in containers and stuff. Your herbs like it dry, so they don't need really lots of special containers. You can do hydroponics if you want to play. Okay, so this is a hydroponic tower. And then, of course, you can do things inside. So you don't have to, if you live in an apartment and you're like, well, I can't really, have a raised bed. You can do hydroponics in your apartment. You can do just regular plants in soil, but they have some really good hydroponic kits out at the hydroponic. We have a Panhandle hydroponic store. I don't know if you realize this, but it's near it's across from the Harley-Davidson on Back Beach Road. So if you were to turn, like you're going to go to the Harley-Davidson, but don't go left into Harley-Davidson, go right, and there's these little, they really just look like garages, but the Panhandle Hydroponics is in one of those buildings, and you can get seeds there, you can get plants, you can get systems. What I like is the passive system that I bought, and I didn't put a picture here, I should have done that, but it's a passive system, meaning there's no pump, and I like that because I don't really want to have something working that that could fail, and then I have to fix this pump. But you have your fertilizer that you mix with water, and you put it in there, and then you put some fresh water in another reservoir, and over time, every month or so, you change out the water. You can grow lettuce quite easily in that. And it fits on a tabletop. If I was better at growing seeds, we'd have 8 lettuce plants. I only have 4 because some of my seeds didn't make it, but it's working, and I'll do better next time with the hydroponics. Okay, and then we had folks last month talk about shoreline restoration, and this is actually a really big deal, whether it's shoreline restoration or whether it's just having a buffer around your waterway. Because buffers are going to do many things. As water runs off the land, it's going to pick up sediment, it's going to pick up any chemicals that have been put on the land, and so as this water runs off into a waterway, it can add sediment, it could add chemicals, whether they're pesticides or fertilizers, and none of those things are good in our water bodies. So having some type of buffer, whether it's along a coastal shoreline like you see here, this is a project that we did a long time ago, I think like 2008 or 7 or something. Is this in Watson Bayou? Was this Middleness? Is this in Watson Bayou? Yeah, so this was Watson Bayou, and I don't know if you can see the tree up here. And there was a lot of shoreline erosion, and we went in and planted just the salt marsh grass, okay, the Spartina grass. And this was taken in 2011, so about 3 years later. And you can see, here's the tree. So there now has this really nice buffer of plants that does many things. First of all, it absorbs the wave energy of boats going by, so you have less erosion on your land. But also, when you have runoff coming from the land, it's going to trap the soil, it's going to trap any chemicals, and that stuff is not going to get into the water. But then the other thing that it does is it provides a ton of habitat for crabs and little snails and a whole bunch of wildlife. And so it's like a win-win-win. You don't have erosion, you don't have chemicals getting in the water, and then you've got wildlife habitat. So it's a really wonderful thing to do, is to have buffers. But let's say you just have a ditch in your front yard that runs into a stormwater drain that then goes out to the bay. You can also do this idea of buffers. You can use plants, whether you're using grasses in the ditch or certain vegetation along the edge of the ditch. These are called these swales, these bioswales, and you can put vegetation in and around these, I call them ditches, but the nice scientific name is bioswales. In order to do the same thing, you're going to reduce runoff, reduce chemicals getting into the water, and you're going to actually create some habitat for some organisms. And so again, it's another win-win. So you don't have to live on the bay to have buffers. You can do this even in your front yard if you just have a ditch in your front yard. All right, so now we're going to talk about in and around the kitchen. I've got some examples to show you. So people laugh at me when I bring these out because they look like shower caps, okay? They're not shower caps, we're not using them for that purpose. But these are bowl covers, plate covers, whatever they fit. And they've got all these different sizes. And you can use this instead of saran wrap in order to cover up your bowls. This is, whoops, sorry, let me put this down. This is a silicone, right? So Joanne brought this in. I'm going to have to buy these now because I'm just totally excited about these silicone covers. But, it's a silicone cover, and of course, if it gets dirty, you just wash it like you wash other things, but you can put it on, your containers, and it's nice and tight. That's what I like about that. So it's really going to keep foods in here, okay? And so that's silicone. You can look at some of these things later. She also brought in this, am I going to do this correctly? Yeah, I'm letting her do this. The silicone reusable sandwich bag, which I haven't used yet, so I don't know how to open it yet.
Is it microwavable?
The silicone is microwavable. Yeah. And so this is just a silicone sandwich bag, and you can, I don't know locally where we get these things. We've been buying them on Amazon. Go figure, right? But maybe we can, get some businesses to have some of these things, because this is a pretty neat idea. So here's your reusable sandwich bag, or you put carrots in here, or whatever it is you want to eat, and then you put the top back on. So that's a really nice thing. And of course, talking about microwaving, glass is best, right? The plastic could have BPA in it, could have phthalates in it. You don't want that stuff in your food. So go get some glass ones. You can get these just by Walmart, Target, all these places nearby. I think Sam's actually had a big bunch of these. These are kind of neat. So these are homemade. Well, mine was homemade that I bought. But this is just fabric that has beeswax on it. And again, you can put this over a bowl. This is not anywhere near as tight though as a silicone. So if you like a tight fitting, this is cool, but it's not as tight as a silicone is. Okay, so those are some things. And of course, having reusable bottles. And it's just nice. We keep a lot of water in our fridge in bottles like this, and then it's cold, it comes out, and we just can easily get to it. Of course, having reusable bottles. And then Joanne brought in, she's got her Missouri mug. Do you ask places to fill this up for you? Or is this really just what you take out of your house?
Mostly it's what I take it.
So mostly it's what she takes out of her house, but I think, especially if you walk into a place, they might fill it up. But some places don't want to fill up your containers because they feel like they're contaminating their system, although your stuff may be a lot cleaner than what they have inside there. But, so we can't fight everything. So this is great for you to take with you and not use the plastic cups. The paper cups. But I don't know if you realize this, a lot of paper cups actually have plastic on the inside. And so even though you think you're using a paper renewable resource, there's actually plastic inside it. I did not realize that until just recently. And then of course, water bottles and other tea and stuff like that. Okay, so there's lots of things we can do in and around the kitchen. And then of course, cleaning products. I think I like to clean with baking soda and vinegar because I just like to see the reaction all the time. So I pour a bunch of baking soda down the drain, and then I follow it with a bunch of white vinegar, and it makes like this little like volcanic eruption, and then it cleans your drains. It's just kind of fun, but you can, clean your tubs, your toilets with baking soda. You don't have to go and buy chemicals. There's really no need. The baking soda will clean those areas, or you can use lemon juice. There's a lot of citrus cleaners out there, right? So, I put lemon juice up there. You can make your own citrus cleaner, but you can buy things like Simple Green and Zep or whatever it's called, the citrus cleaners. But it's something. Did you bring your nano sponge?
No, I didn't. It was in the laundry.
Okay, so her nano sponge is in the laundry, but I brought a nano fiber cloth, so that's good. We're covered. This thing says use only water, machine wash with detergent or bleach, air dry only, no fabric softener. It's called Jude's Miracle Cloth, and you can buy this on Amazon. Now, when I actually bought this, I saw this in an ad somewhere, and I had to send money to a lady in Canada to get these from her. But now they're, you can find them on Amazon stuff. I didn't believe it. Okay, I'm like, I don't believe that this is Jude's Miracle Cloth, but I'm going to try it because I want to see if Jude is correct. So cleaning windows, you know what, it's such a pain. You spray your ammonia, your Windex, and then you wipe it with paper towels or something, and you got all this garbage you've created. So you can literally take a bucket of water and Jude's Miracle Cloth, and you get this wet, you clean your window, and you let it just dry naturally. You don't even have to dry it. That's, to me, the beauty of using this cloth. So it does a great job cleaning, and you don't have to dry it, and it's really pretty streak-free. Your windows have to be clean, so if you just do a cursory cleaning and your window's not that clean, you'll still see streaks. I know that from experience. But it really does work, and it works on mirrors, and you don't have to use any chemicals whatsoever, or you don't even have to use paper towels or something to dry, which that's what I like, is I don't have to dry things. So this is the Jude's Miracle Cloth, and we'll see some lucky person here will win Jude's Miracle Cloth. It really is quite awesome. But of course, there's all these microfiber towels. And one thing I forgot to mention that Joanne also brought in is, I think this is ingenious. So she carries this in her purse, and this is her cutlery. So when she goes somewhere, she can have her own cutlery, and then she can clean it, when she gets home, and then she has it in her purse again, so she doesn't have to keep using cutlery that's going to be thrown out. Of course, you can have your own metal cutlery and wrap it in a, really just like a washcloth or something like that, and you can use that as well. But this is nice because it fits right in the purse. Okay, so some of these things are not, being given away, because this is, Joanne's thing. She uses all the time. But anyway, there's just lots and lots of products. Does anyone have other products that they use on a regular basis that you would like to share with us? Because like the silicone, for me, I can't wait to go buy some of those. I'm really excited about those silicone tops. Lisa?
Well, I always carry it. I drink a lot of hot herbal tea, and I always carry a reusable, mug for that, an insulated container for that. But I especially like that when I'm traveling, if I'm traveling by air, because you can't carry in any liquids,
Right.
through security. But when you were saying, will people fill it, I have found it very easy to get people to give me hot water in that.
That's great.
To make tea.
So she's talking about having an insulated mug that she carries with her, so she can have her
It's like a travel mug.
hot herbal tea, and that she hasn't had trouble getting hot hot water.
And people don't try to charge me for it at all.
Yeah, I think just some chains maybe have a little bit of trouble, like if you go in and say, you know, will you fill this up? They may say
Well,
no.
there's lots of places that have trouble when you say you don't need a bag. It's like people are so used to giving you a plastic
Right.
bag that if you say I don't need a bag, they almost are on autopilot.
You would think that we have this time, so she's talking about, hey, just say no to the bag or just say no to the straw. And it is interesting, I just started doing the no straw thing, like I can drink out of the cup, I don't need a straw in the cup.
They still throw it on the table.
So they give it to me and I'm like, no, I don't need it. And then they just look at me like, well, she's not using a straw, what's wrong with this woman? You know? I'm like, I'm okay, I can handle it. But this leads us into, this segues into our next thing about plastics and why I'm starting to do a lot more to think about single-use plastic and reducing it. There's lots of things that we can do. So the one on the left has nothing to do with plastic. It has to do with, you know, are you always printing everything out or not, okay? And then this on the right is talking about, you know, don't use toxic cleaning supplies. You know, conserve water, don't litter, you know, hang dry your laundry, drink tap water, you know. So, you know, there's lots of different ways that we can save resources. And one thing you can do is plant trees. We had our Arbor Day in Florida, you know, in early February. It's Arbor Day for most of the country in April. So it's still time, you can still plant a tree, just you gotta get it established with a bunch of water right now, but it's not too hot yet. Okay, so moving on to beach plastics. So, you know, we want you to use your reusable bags. So we're gonna give away, we've got 5 of these reusable bags that say St. Andrew Baywatch on them, and on the back it shows all the different programs that we do. So we're hoping that whoever wins these will enjoy using these reusable bags. We have some reusable water containers that we would like to give away to folks. We have some straws. Okay, so these are metal straws that you can carry with you, and there's even a little cleaner for, you know, when you want to clean your straws. And you can use these if you really want to have a straw. You can put this in your drink and drink out of it. So we have 2 packages of straws, and then of course we have Jude's Miracle Cloth, which really is a miracle. But plastic bags, how convenience is killing our planet. We throw away 1 trillion plastic bags worldwide in just 1 year. Okay, that is a lot of plastic bags. It says it's going to take about 1,000 years for 1 plastic bag to fully degrade. So these things just don't go away. They're produced by petroleum products. The petroleum products took millions and millions of years to form. You know, they were from, you know, a couple 100 million years ago. And then they take a really long time to break down, and we are now seeing them in food chain. So there's just these plastic bags. Again, I'm not against all plastic, but do we need single-use plastic like straws and plastic bags? And you know, I'm the person, when I walk my dog, I have my plastic bag and I put the waste in there, and then I, you know, put that out, you know, to go to the incinerator. And so I saw somebody else using paper or newspaper. I'm like, oh, am I going to start using newspaper to pick up dog waste? I don't know, you know. We have to see what we're all comfortable doing, okay? So, you know, we're all not going to just start living in holes in the ground because, you know, we aren't going to use any resources. But if we all do 1 or 2 things, it actually adds up when 300 million of us in America do that. Yes?
I read an article today that a chemical company just found a new enzyme that can break down plastic much quicker than how
Awesome.
it would.
So I'll repeat that, everybody. So John was reading an article today that a chemical company found an enzyme that will actually break down plastic much quicker. So that would
breaks
be,
down into the components so that it can be reused.
so that would be wonderful. Oh, to be reused, not just, you know, to put in a landfill or something. Okay. Well, that would be great. Yes.
I can get a ticket, I was late.
Oh yeah, you're gonna want a ticket.
They were over there on the other table.
Oh, do you mind getting her a ticket? Sorry. Okay. Yeah, everyone wants a ticket, so that's good. That's good. You want to get one of these awesome door prizes. Okay, so we have lots of sea turtles here in Pane City, and we would like to see the sea turtles going shopping with their reusable bag and not with plastic bags. A big problem with plastic bags is that they look like jellyfish, and sea turtles eat jellyfish, and we are finding plastic in the stomachs of marine life. Sea turtles are one example. Albatrosses, which literally live like Midway Island in the middle of nowhere. They're just surrounded by the Pacific Ocean. And they fly hundreds of miles feeding, and they're feeding their young bits of plastic. And you will see dead albatross, and they go through the stomach contents, and there's bottle caps in their stomach, because the bottle caps from a plastic bottle don't break down readily. And they're picked up by the albatross. And a lot of this plastic, when we recycle plastic, it's turned into these little tiny pellets that are called like nurdles or something. I don't know who named them, but they're like these little plastic pellets. And they look like fish eggs. So, you know, you'll have a container that, you know, you have these pellets being moved from, let's say, America to China or something. I don't know, just made that up. But you know, the container goes overboard, and this happens. It's not like this has never happened. And then you have all these pellets that are just floating in the water because they're all plastic. And then birds are looking at them going, huh, looks like fish eggs. And they go and they eat a whole bunch of these. And then they wonder why they're dying, because, you know, their stomach is totally filled with plastic. So plastic just doesn't go away. I'm hoping that we can learn more about this enzyme and have the plastic go away, because we need it to go away. So 9 reasons to refuse single-use plastic. It's made from fossil fuels. They have a huge carbon footprint because they're not only made from fossil fuels, but then of course, you know, we drive these things everywhere to move them from point A to B. They'll still be here in hundreds of years. Only a tiny percentage is recycled. Leaches toxins into food and drink. That's the BPA and the phthalates that I was talking about. Causes hormone disruption and cancers. Pollutes our oceans, kills marine animals and birds, and enters our food chain. And again, there's research now showing that these microplastics, which either are coming from the little pellets, the little nurdles, or they're just a breakdown of the plastic that's on our beaches, that these things are entering the food chain. They're in fish, they're in shellfish. So what can we do? You know, use your reusable straws. And so we have a couple of those to give away. So I think Seattle is going strawless. So strawless in Seattle. But they really are doing a big campaign, and it's with one of the, like the Lonely Whale Foundation is really leading this this campaign to get people to just not use straws. So actually the business people in Seattle said, fine, we're not going to distribute straws. So you can read up about on that if you want. So there's definitely places around the country where they're trying to ban plastic, either plastic bags. San Francisco really worked hard to try to ban plastic bags completely. But the ACC, the American Chemical Society, or ACS, really fought them on it, and they just barely lost in a referendum. So they really, a lot of people wanted to ban plastics, but there was a very large campaign that involved millions of dollars, and then they lost that fight. But it's happening. People in different cities are working on this. I would love to see Pane City Beach say, hey, no more plastic straws. We could just do one little thing, just start with that. So 7 single-use swaps. Okay, 1 bamboo toothbrush is like 4 plastic toothbrushes. 1 glass floss container. Now, I have not seen these. I don't know if other people have seen these, but then again, I really haven't looked hard for them. It's like 7 plastic floss containers. 1 reusable water bottle is like 167 plastic water bottles. 1 reusable bag is 170 plastic bags. 1 reusable cup, 500 coffee cups. 1 metal straw is like 540 plastic straws. And 1 cloth towel, like 7,300 paper towels. Okay, so why we should refuse plastic straws? They're made in 10 minutes, they're used in 20 and remain on Earth forever since they're not biodegradable. So those numbers just don't really add up. Did you know that about 90% of marine animals have eaten plastic? Plastic straws require a great amount of non-renewable resources, and it takes a lot of energy to make such a small piece of plastic. Restaurants throw away 45,000 plastic straws a year. It's just insane. There's just a lot of plastic straws. And I really think we probably all can drink out of the containers quite well. So with that, I want to do these little prizes. Who wants to pick for us? Okay, Charles, you want to pick these? Okay, we'll see. Joanne, would you get a shopping bag? Let's take it to this lucky winner. Who's our lucky winner? The last four numbers are 441. 441.
Oh, that's 3 numbers.
Ah, Kennard. And we'll take the ticket from you. So, lucky winner. Okay, now we'll get rid of a bottle. How's that? 449. Who has ticket 449? Ah, look at that. Awesome. We got a water bottle. All right. We'll do another event. Okay. 437. 437. Ah, Charlotte's. One of our bags. Awesome. 432. You got 432? Are you going to get a water bottle? Well, we're going to do these first, and then we'll get to the straws and the juice miracle. Unless you want. Oops. 446. And all you lucky winners, okay, Alan gets it. You can swap things if you didn't get what you wanted.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne. You're doing an awesome job. 440. So who came in near Kenner? 440. All right, you get a water bottle. Awesome. 442. Wow. Okay. So who else came in? Okay, Lisa. Lisa gets a bag. Okay. Should we do one of the straws? Let's do one of the straws. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm confused. I don't know what I'm doing. That's not the first time, by the way. 439. 439. Who's 439? It could be one of those kids that left. Yeah. All right. You snooze, you lose. 436. 436. Oh, straws. Okay. All right, let's do another bottle. He's trying to get one for you. George, he's trying. Are you 433, George? No, I'm just kidding. All right, we got a water bottle back there. No, I'm just kidding. You didn't get one? But she wants something. We gotta get something. 429. 429. All right. One of our big irish. Okay. Okay. Make sure these are mixed up. 445.
It's you.
Are you 445?
Jerry gave me his ticket.
Oh, then you get, well, he already has a water bottle. Why don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I straw.
You want the bag? The bags are gone.
Okay, well, I'll just get one.
Well-
You can't negotiate.
You want to swap?
Yeah, I don't like straw.
Okay, so you're gonna swap. Charlotte, see, this is how it works. We can swap. Okay, let's do the, and it's your birthday. 426. 426. All right. Water bottle in the back. What? Okay. I'm sorry, you haven't picked your number. 435. All right. You get to do a bunch of window washing. This will be perfect for your photovoltaics. I think it'll actually clean those photovoltaics real nice, no chemicals, and no streaks. We want to thank you guys for coming and sharing this with us. We have another Citizen Science Talk in May. It's the third Tuesday. Is that the 15th? It's May 15th. Isn't it, Stephen?
Yeah.
And we're going to have students from the Rising Leaders Academy coming out. And what are you guys going to be talking
We're
about?
walking about water sustainability.
Water sustainability. So we're going to kind of come full circle. We've been talking about sustainability, and they're going to focus mainly on water. And so that's May 15th. And do you want to tell us about Earth Day or?
No, I just wanted, I guess, rain on the parade.
Okay, don't rain yet. Let me just say something about Earth Day real quick. So Earth Day is this Saturday. There's going to be a lot of folks down at Mackenzie Park from 10 to 4. So if you're interested in seeing what U.S. Fish and Wildlife is doing and other agencies and different NGOs in town, and coming out to Mackenzie Park. I also think that there's something going on Harrison Avenue that day. Is there more like gallery walks or something?
They're calling it the block party.
The block party. So there's a block party downtown Harrison as well. So there's multiple reasons to come down downtown Harrison Avenue. You can hang out in the block party, then come on over and check out what's going on in Mackenzie Park for Earth Day. And so now with that, how are you going to run our parade?
I was just, Microsoft brings up a nice screensaver every morning when I log in. I don't know how, but this beautiful picture of this flamingo with this pink lake. And so I double clicked on it, and that it's a huge salt flat in Bolivia.
Okay, so he's talking about a flamingo on a salt flat in Bolivia, but I'm doing this for our video.
And they show these incredibly beautiful pictures of this salt flat and how the water can get on it, make all this reflective pool, this pink. Then when it dries out, it has this wonderful hexagon pattern in it.
Because of the salt?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they said underneath this lake is the world's largest supply of lithium.
Oh.
So they're already starting to chew it up.
So where is this again? This is in Bolivia?
Yeah.
So there's these beautiful salt lakes where the flamingos are gracefully moving from point A to B. And underneath is a lot of lithium. So one of the things, lithium, of course, is one of our major components of our lithium batteries. And batteries are going to be a huge part if we're going to really become more of a solar, electric,
Does anyone,
globally versus.
is lithium, once the battery goes dead, can you extract the lithium out, treat some?
Can we extract the
Juice
lithium out of a dead lithium battery? And I am not a chemist. I watch grass grow out in the bay.
Yeah.
Ask me something about seagrass. Yeah,
You
Charles.
can extract the lithium.
Okay, so you can extract it. Okay, so right now it's cost prohibitive until we need it, and then it's not going to be cost prohibitive anymore. So once we say we're not going to dig for it in these places because we want to protect those places, then it becomes less cost prohibitive. But until that time, right now it's cost prohibitive to remove the lithium.
But lithium is certainly abundant.
Right.
So it's not as though we have to go to that.
Well, hopefully not, but lithium is, we're just saying, yeah. So John, what would you like to say?
Just another plug for solar, a recent study by the National Renewable Energy.
Here, I'll let you,
The study found that, and they did a study of 40,000 homes in a variety of areas, and for every watt of electricity that your system produces, it adds $4 to the value of your house. So, for example, my system you saw was a 7,000 kilowatt system, so it added $28,000 to the value of my house by just putting that solar system there. They added between $4 or $5. So people who are wondering what solar does to a neighborhood or to a community, it adds. How much did that system cost? About $28,000. Believe it or not, I mean, what it went through, we're getting up at about $28,000 and average.
yeah.
Something to think about.
With batteries, John?
With batteries. With lead acid batteries. I wanted the lithium batteries.
They're cheaper, yeah,
I couldn't get them.
So he's going to use a bunch of lead acid.
that Tesla wall unit's like $6,600.
And that would have been cheaper than the lead acid.
And you need
batteries.
one for every 1,000 square feet of house, so
Yeah.
if you got a 3,000 square foot house, you need 3 of those Tesla, and that's another 20,
So we're talking about the cost of batteries, and yes,
Yeah, the Tesla-
right now, the batteries
Still
are expensive, whether it's an electric vehicle, whether it's a Tesla Powerball. Once we make more strides in battery technology, the cost will come down, but that's, I think, the this is just my opinion, this is where we really need to be focusing a lot of our energy, is making better batteries. Because I think that's what's holding us back right now. If you can't easily and relatively, cheaply, not super cheaply, but store energy, it's gonna make it hard for solar to just take off. It's gonna take off, but it's my opinion, I think the batteries are kind of holding us up a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of new developments.
But there are lots of new, and even the Tesla power wall, is a big development compared to a bank of lead acid batteries.
They
So,
dropped the price a lot.
One thing solar will also do as more and more comes on board is, it juices up the downstream electric line. We lose a lot of electricity going through the power lines. And as Germany found out when they started selling back AC voltage to the grid, what they did was, we didn't lose all that power because the solar systems were boosting the power up as it went down the grid.
so solar has not just the benefit of providing some electricity for you, but it actually helps boost the grid, and so you don't lose as much voltage as it's traveling.
Turn the generators down a little too.
Yeah.
And when you do it individually, when you have it on your own house and things like that, then all the transmission loss aren't counted into your transmission issue. You don't have to send it 100 miles away, it's right on top of your house.
Right, so the loss of voltage doesn't happen so much when it's on your house, that's what John was saying.
There's a group called the Franklin Bay County Solar Co-op that's organizing to do group buying of solar and maybe buy systems, so.
We have a Bay County co-op too that's starting up, and St. Andrew Baywatch is a supporter of that co-op. And it's fledgling, I mean, it's just starting, but yes, we're working on that as
So they're
well.
gonna display at Earth Day maybe, the people that are trying to organize that? I
Yeah.
invited the Franklin Bay group to.
Yeah.
I think
Talking
they're
about
gonna be there.
computers.
Mr. Jones, Alvin Jones is running that right now. I think he's gonna be there. But as part of that program, the mayor of Apalachicola is gonna try and get something like 30% of his city's energy from solar to power his water filtration plant and a couple other facilities within the city of Apalachicola.
So Apalachicola, 30% energy from solar.
Yeah, so there's some
That would
commitments.
be awesome.
That would be nice to hear from.
How wonderful would that be if we started all making these pledges around the state? Let's get a certain percentage from renewables. That's really fantastic to hear. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully at Earth Day, also May 15th for our next Citizen Science Talk. Oh yeah, if you have a survey, we'd love to see that. You can just drop it off here in this chair.
And if you want to volunteer to help us on Earth Day, come see me. We could use some.
Yeah, we'll take volunteers, so if you'd like to volunteer, come see us. Thanks. Bye.